Being a startup or a small business can be hard, right? We work with many of them and we always see the same issues, the same underlying issues. It's always hard to keep track of the big picture because there's so many moving pieces. You guys are wearing multiple different hats, especially when you're a smaller team. A lot of startups that we work with, they're doing so great in terms of like getting things done, getting clients, getting their work done, delivering things on time, etc. But then they lose sight of the overall company goals. Every organization, especially at the startup level, we see them have issues with this. They're trying to grow, there's a lot of moving parts, and it's really hard for them to keep track of the big picture. So in this video, we're going to walk through how we can start managing your company goals at that broader level. How you can track your targets, who's responsible for what, whether you're on track, falling behind, or completing them and getting things done. So let's first cover what goals are, right? So what is even a company goal? It's pretty much a high level target. It's something that your company wants to achieve maybe by the end of the year. Typically, you are goal planning at the end of the year. So that at the end of the year or the end of the fourth quarter, you're pretty much prepared and you have all of your goals set for your company for the next year. That way you have things lined up and you can see what your goals are. Examples could be like averaging a 3 client intake per month or reaching $1 million in sales by the end of Q4 or Q3. And it can even be something internal, maybe setting up SOPs across your departments. These are all goals that your company has, and tracking them can get difficult, especially when you're always chasing clients and sales and deliverables for your clients, right? You kind of start to neglect the goals for your company. Even though you might be hitting them, you're not really tracking them, right? So these are all examples of broad goals, and tracking them will help you see progress, catch any early delays, and even it'll keep your team aligned. So we don't want to get super granular here. Your goal should usually have like 3 to 5 targets. This goal tracking template that we're going to create is really meant to be kept simple, standard, and straightforward so your team actually uses it. The first thing I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to create a new space. So you can create a space. Typically, your goals live in your project management office, or you can call it your PMO space. You can even call this company operations, but in this example, I'm just going to call it PMO. Gonna hit continue. For your default views, let's just have it so that you only have one list so that everything else is just not required. I'm gonna hit done. You don't need to worry about the statuses. We'll update those later. All right, so I have my PMO space. There's always a list that gets automatically created. Let's go ahead and rename this list. We're gonna rename this to be company goals, and we're gonna distinguish it with the year. So FY25 as an example. The reason why we have the year in place is because we're actually going to create a goal list for every single year. Having all of your goals throughout the lifetime of your company in one single list will become almost unmanageable in the future, will most likely become unmanageable in the future. And the reason why I say that is because you won't be able to compare and contrast the goals, and then you're going to have to like edit custom fields to be very particular. Let's just go ahead and just name our first task goal 1 as an example. All right, we're going to keep these 3 fields. Assigning is actually really good because you can assign a person to a goal and they are responsible to drive that goal to completion, essentially. Due dates are important because you can have a set due date for that goal. You can say that, hey, this goal is due by the end of the summer or end of Q2, whatever you want to call it. And then priority is going to be used to help prioritize your goals, obviously. So let's go ahead and add a column. We're going to add our first dropdown. We're going to call it quarter. And we're going to call this quarter. And we're just going to keep it simple. Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So let's go ahead and hit create. And now we have our first quarter. Let's go ahead and reduce the size of this here. The next field that we're going to do is department. So I created this department dropdown. I have ops, PMO, HR, and then I have just like company-wide as an example. Let's just go ahead and create this. Having these kinds of custom fields will help you in the future so that you can actually assign goals to specific teams or specific departments. Now, let's start adjusting our statuses here. All right, so we're going to keep things simple again. So let's bring in the status. And we're going to call this status. We're going to edit this here. So we can keep things like to do, but we'll name it not started as an example, meaning that our goal hasn't started. We haven't started performing any actions on it. We're going to keep in progress. We'll have at risk, and then we're going to have on hold, missed, and complete. So on hold. Missed will be a done status. The reason why it's going to be a done status is because you missed the target for that goal or you were unable to complete this goal. And then we'll keep complete as our close status if we've completed the goal. I'm going to go ahead and apply the changes. When you do create these custom statuses, it is always recommended to create your own template. So you may want to rename this to be like, goal template as an example. So whenever you do duplicate this list, it's always going to reuse these same statuses. Just go ahead and just apply these changes here. And now I have my statuses here. As you can see, we have not started, in progress, at risk, on hold, missed, and complete. Now, the next thing that we're going to do here is we are going to actually utilize task types. If you haven't utilized this before, it's actually a really cool function. I am going to click on this here, and I'm going to go to my task type. I'm going to go to settings to edit my task types, and I'm going to create a goal. They have recommended ones. They might have it here, actually. Oh, they actually do have goals. So let's go ahead and add it. If you don't see it, you can always create new and type in goal. Remember to select a cool emoji, like a trophy or something like that. But they have recommended ones that we can select from. So let's go ahead and hit add. Now we've added our goal. Task type. So now our parent task is representative of a goal by this task type here. What we're going to do is within our list, we're actually going to make this the default task type. And what I want you to notice here, you'll see that it says add task up top. Let's go ahead and let's make our default task type goal now. So let's go to default task type. Again, you go to your space, the list that you're in, you go to default task type, and then you're going to set it as a goal. Now, even our list has that symbol that's showing us the goal symbol, and you'll notice that instead of add task, it says add goal now. So these task type settings will help us filter items out when we want to distinguish between what our goal is versus our specific targets. So let's kind of go through an example really quick, and I'll kind of show you why we are utilizing task types here. So as an example, let's say that we have a goal that we want to create. So you can click on add goal here or add goal here. I'm just going to go ahead and click here. Oh, my fields were not shown. I forgot to save my view. One thing to note is sometimes in ClickUp, if you click out of your list, it will actually not save the view. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to tasks that are hidden. And we're going to bring in department and quarter. And let's go ahead and just auto save this for me. Later, it is recommended to protect this view, and we'll kind of get into that. So let's say I want to add a goal. We are going to say that this goal is called build out HR onboarding processes, all right? I have my goal set. Now, let's break this down into specific targets. We're going to utilize the subtask for that. And we want to make sure instead of a goal task type, we're going to just change this to our standard task. This is going to be representative of our targets. So as an example, our target would be to maybe map out HR workflows. Maybe another target would be to hire HR manager. And then the final target would be to implement workflow. All right. Keeping things very simple. Let's say that we want to complete this entire goal by the end of Q3. All right. That's our goal here. And this is part of the HR department. The same thing we'll utilize. We can utilize the quarter and departments, but let me go ahead and assign the goal owner. So Ali is going to be the goal owner of this goal. He is responsible to make sure that people are performing their necessary actions here. And we'll make it so that this is due September 26th. As an example, we'll set the priority to high. And then mapping out HR workflows, we'll pretend that we're planning this in the beginning of the year. And we'll say that, okay, let's have the HR workflows mapped by Q1. And so now you can see the organization of this and why utilizing this goal and target hierarchy is so helpful, because you can distinguish what your goal is versus your targets, and you can assign specific individuals to the goal as well as specific individuals to the targets. Let's go ahead and let's talk about templatizing this a little bit, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create a goal template. I'm going to rename our first goal here to just be called goal template. All right. And within this, I'm going to add some items in the description. We can have things like goal description as an example. Let's add a banner and let's do blue. We'll call it goal description. And then let's just go ahead and add another banner. Call this one timeline. Let's say goal end date. And this just gives your users like a standard process to keep things nice and easy for them. Now, they should be using the comments or the activity to always update the entire company on what's going on with the goal. What that means is, for example, if this HR manager or HR onboarding process, and they're saying, okay, I had a follow-up. So you will be using the comments as a function to update the goal. One recommendation is for you to always have your primary form of communication within the parent task or the goal task. Your targets are only meant to keep track of the status. And let's bring status in again. Now, we created our goal template. Let's go ahead and save this. So I'm going to click on this. And I'm going to go to templates. And I'm going to say save as template. Save template. And then now I am going to go to my list. So I'm going to go to templates and default task template. You can search by typing in goal. Seems that I have two. I'm going to use the second one, set as default. So now whenever I go to hit add goal, automatically my template will come in, as you can see here. You can use this as a base and you can make your descriptions as detailed as you want for your goal tracking. You should include things like acceptance criteria, resources, any important links, things like that. You should include those sections within your description as well. Before we create any views, let me go ahead and add in some dummy data. That way you can see the importance of the views that we create. I went ahead and added in some dummy data. As you can see, I have my goals listed out here. There's no grouping or anything like that. And I just added in statuses and different quarters and departments. You can see that, for example, like build out sales process, I just have the goal parent as at risk. And we have our targets assigned to different individuals and what the statuses are. One thing I recommend is if your sub item is at risk, your goal should be at risk, obviously. And to kind of show you an example, build out HR onboarding flow, I just set the map out HR workflows to in progress. We'll say hire HR managers in progress as well. And then the implement workflow is not started. So this view here, this goal overview, is our original list. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and rename this to be called goal overview. Just click on the list and you can rename it to goal overview. The next thing that we want to do is make sure we show closed tasks and subtasks, because on a goal list, it's always important to see what's been completed. You don't want things to just go away and get hidden. This list is meant to show us overall our goals and where we were at for those goals in this current year that we are in. And I'm going to actually group this by quarter. And now I have my goal overview list. This is a high level overview, particularly more for strategic planning and your executives, so that they can see what goals are being completed and which goals are at risk or on hold. The next list that we're going to create is going to be called targets. Let's go ahead, instead of creating the view, we're going to just duplicate this goal overview and we're going to adjust the filters. So let's go ahead and duplicate the view to a list. And we're just going to rename this one to be called targets. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove the grouping for now. We're going to show our subtasks as separate. We're going to make sure that the closed is turned on for tasks and subtasks. And you can see that we're showing everything on its own, including the goals. But we have our task type. So we want to filter out the goal task type. So we're going to say task type is not goal. And now because we are showing our sub items separately, we can easily and quickly see which targets and which individual are working on them. Let's go ahead and group this by quarter as well. So now you can see which targets are due at which quarter and what status they are in. Let's go ahead and hit customize, and we're going to say show subtask parent names. That way we can see what goal this target is a part of. As you can see, this hit 250K in sales is a part of the hit 1 million in sales goal. So we have our targets for individuals so that they can easily and quickly track what they need to get done. These lists gives us two different perspectives. One is for executives and strategic planning, that being the goal overview list. And then the targets list is for your operations team to actually manage those targets and get the goals completed. So it helps keep everyone aligned without creating any kind of clutter, essentially. Now, let's create a dashboard view. Let's go ahead and add that in now. I'm going to hit on plus view, type in dashboard. We're going to rename this to just be called maybe goal report. All right, and we're going to create from scratch. We're just going to do something very simple. I like to always start clean, and let's just add a couple of number widgets as an example. So let's do calculation. We're going to make this a little bit tinier, and we're going to do goals at risk. All right, and I'm going to go to the settings. I'm going to filter this so that the task type is goal, and I'm also going to filter this so that the status is at risk. And when you're creating a dashboard, it's very important to keep things very high level, but straightforward, and keeping the information clear so that whoever's looking at it knows what they're looking at and it's not complicated. All right, so I have my goals at risk. Let's go ahead. Let's just duplicate this same one. And we're going to create one called goals on hold. All we have to do is just adjust the filter so that we can show, and we're going to change this to be on hold. Perfect. And let's do overdue goals as well. So we're going to duplicate this here. This one, we're going to adjust the filter so that the due date is overdue. This is a dynamic filter, so it's going to show us all of the goals that we have that are overdue, essentially. So let me just show you an example. I'm going to mark this one as like overdue. Now, if we go to our goal report, we hit refresh, you can see that it's 1 now. And these are all interactive. You can click on them and see what specific goal is overdue here. All right, let's go ahead and just add a pie chart of all of our goals breaking down by status. Boom, perfect. So this is showing us all of our goals, all of our parent tasks by the status. Let's go to the settings here and let's show the legend as an example. So now whenever a stakeholder comes to this view, they can click on this and they can see what goals are in progress. But you see we are showing the targets as well. You can keep it this way if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and filter it so that the task type is goal. That way it helps clean up the clutter. Perfect. And let's make sure we are showing closed as well. All right, that's great. Let's go ahead, just for the example, let's mark one of these as closed. So now you can see all your completed goals versus the active statuses as well. Before we add any other widgets, let's go ahead and clean this up. I just realized that I didn't name these number widgets here. So this one is goals at risk. This one was our goals on hold. So let's go ahead and rename this. And then we'll rename this one to be goals overdue. And let's add another widget here. Let's go to bar chart. And we're just going to keep it a custom bar chart. Say targets by assignee. All right, so let's go to the settings. We're going to have the X measure be our assignee, and then we're going to show closed as well. And we want to group by status. Make sure that the task type is not goal or is task. So again, what we did here was we're adding a bar chart. We have it so that the X measure is by assignee. We have the Y measure to be number of tasks. And then we're going to group by the status here. So it's going to show us all of our assignees, all the targets that are assigned to them, and what the status of that is. We're also showing closed. And again, we have the filter set so the task type is task. Now you have a bar chart that will quickly and easily show you all of your assignees and where they are at specifically with their targets. One thing that I always like to add in is an activity view. So let's just really quickly add that in. Activity view is just a nice way to see all of the activity within the list that you're currently in. This will allow you to see like all of the activity, who clicked on what when, who changed what when. That way, when you have a meeting, you can use this goal report as an example to just go through your high level points that you want to get across. You should really structure this dashboard so that it's like hitting those targets that you want to talk about, or those talking points that you want to talk about during your meeting. The last thing that I want to add in is just like a general list view. So I'll just go to task list. And what's nice about this is I'll just make this the entire bottom part view here. And I'm going to go ahead, go to the settings, and I'm going to filter this so that it's only going to show us pretty much our targets that are overdue. So let's go ahead, let's set up the filter so that it's showing us task type. Or you know what, let's just keep it so that it's both targets and goals. And we're going to have it so that the due date is this quarter instead of overdue. And what we're going to do is we're going to show subtasks separately. Let's go back to our list. We're going to customize this so that we show subtask parent names. And instead of grouping by status, what we're going to do is we're going to actually group this by task type. So this will show us all of our goals and targets that are due in the current quarter that we are in. This filter that we're using is dynamic. So anytime the quarter changes, it will automatically show you or update you on what goals are due that quarter that you're currently in and what targets are due. So we've created 3 different views. Let's go ahead and just go through this really quick. We have our goal overview, which is mainly for our executives or stakeholders so that they can quickly and easily see what the goals are and where they're at. We have our targets for the actual work that's being completed, the targets that are being done. This is meant to be used by the assignees so that maybe during the meeting you can pull this view up and you can go through by assignee or by quarter, say, hey, what's going on with this target? Where are you at with it? Why is it at risk? Why is it on hold? And then the goal report can function or serve as both. It gives you a point of reference during your meetings or even a report that you can provide to your stakeholder to say, hey, this is where we're at currently. These are the goals at risk. Here's what everything looks like by assignee. And this is what we're focused on this quarter. Let's go ahead and let's make our goal overview the default view. And we're going to protect this view as well. That way, if any updates get done, it won't be done accidentally. And we'll protect the dashboard as well. Now, quick tip. Once you get more advanced with your goal tracking, we can add in an additional layer to this. We can add in a field. We'll add this field both to our goal overview and target, but it's a standard field called linked tasks. Now, what's really cool about this is you can link tasks that are outside of this space or list, pretty much any task that's within your ClickUp. These tasks can be related to the goal, can be kind of maybe potentially dependent on the goal. As an example, it's just helping you connect other things that the team member is working on so you can see more granular components of the target, let's say, as an example. And that's how you manage company goals in ClickUp. If you have any questions, you want to reach out to us, please reach out to us at bijli.org. Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear what you're building. If you want to have any kind of enhancements, ask some questions. We can help you build this company goal list out for you. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.